Good morning, colleagues, and thank you for your patience once more. I hope you had a good weekend. We're doing it in reverse today. As you can see, the acting Prime Minister will address you today on a few issues. Are you ready?
Well, thank you very much for your attendance this morning. It's been a while since I've been here. So maybe I can give you an update on some of the latest happenings in tourism and investment. Of course, we hosted World Travel Market, attended World Travel Market in London, which is one of the largest tourism trade shows. Our featured person was Julian Alfred. As you know, she's a tourism ambassador, and she definitely made us proud. You know, her contribution during that week was outstanding. Not only was she on the stand meeting people, talking about St. Lucia, of course taking photos. She visited a couple of schools in London, meeting, young people, and the schools themselves having children of St. Lucian descent. She also hosted together with us a number of events for travel agents, for tour operators, and other stakeholders. And I can tell you it's probably one of the best world travel markets that we've ever attended, and St. Lucia certainly starred at that event. We also visited New Orleans, where we sought to establish some relationships in a formal way with the city. Of course, we know the similarities between New Orleans and St. Lucia in terms of culture, history, and we believe there's a lot of synergy between St. Lucia as a whole and New Orleans, and definitely looking forward to collaboration with New Orleans, certainly from the start of jazz next year and Carnival next year, and of course further cultural exchanges. As you know, the cruise season has officially started, and you would have seen the increase in the number of cruise lines that are coming to St. Lucia. We expect this calendar year to be the best calendar year on record. At least 825,000 arrivals would be expected by the end of December. Also for the cruise season, which is from October to May, so it carries over from 24 into 25, we also expect it to be the best on record, both in terms of the number of ships calling as well as the total number of persons. So it's going to be a very good year for us, and we're certainly excited by that. I think you would have seen gazetted that and I know some of you, and I probably could wait who wants to ask the question about it, the revocation of one of the citizens, as it is once we receive notification that somebody has acted in any manner that's injurious to the reputation of St. Lucia, the law gives us the right to revoke that person's citizenship. Of course, some people do have to go through the due process of appealing or having to go through the court processes. So, but we have taken a decision, and we have decided to revoke the citizenship of the individual. Sorry? No, you can go ahead.
I'm asking, the questions I basically had for you was pertaining to exactly what you spoke about. When was it granted? Why? And do we have to refund him?
Okay. He was granted citizenship in 2018, so it was previous to this administration. But of course, he was a citizen of St. Lucia. He would have gone through the process. I still have to establish the due diligence firm that processed him. But yes, he did go through the process. And we don't refund because the law says anybody who acts in a manner, and it states the conditions, we have a right to revoke. And there is no refund that's given to the individual.
And under your watch, how many have been revoked?
I think that's the only one I've revoked. Yeah. But again, there are individuals who would act in a manner that is unbecoming and injurious to St. Lucia, and you would have to revoke. Naturally, born St. Lucians cannot be revoked. So if a St. Lucian commits a crime overseas, You can't revoke his citizenship because he has no other citizenship. But certainly under the CIP legislation, you can revoke a St. Lucian citizenship because it's an acquired citizenship.
Are you able to disclose what would have led to the revocation?
Well, I think it's been circulating. It's covered in the media that he was charged for being involved in a money laundering ring. So for us, once we received a formal notification of the fact that he had been charged and sentenced, and that there was no appeal in process, we decided to act. Any other questions? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so we also circulating in the media on the weekend copies of what would seem to appear to be contracts pertaining to the agreements with BMAX as well as Caribbean Galaxy. Those documents show that Caribbean Galaxy granted not exceeding 5,000 applications for the real estate option, and as well for infrastructure, 6,000. And Dr. Hilaire, you've been very, very consistent in denying these figures or these numbers. Can you explain to us why the contradiction?
Well, I don't know that you can ever show that I denied figures. I never did. And I will repeat what I said then, I will repeat it now, and then I will go into the substance of the issue. I always said, and I still hold the view, that we should not discuss and put out in the public private commercial information about investors into the country. I still believe a government must be responsible. For investor confidence in your country, investors have to know that they can come to your country, they can invest, and you will not put out in the public the private commercial information. Why? They don't want their competitors to know what they are doing and the details of the concessions, the incentives and awards that they have. And also for business planning, they don't want the information out there in the open. And just think about it. Imagine you have in a country and every investor that comes to your country, all the private commercial information that they expose or give to the government or sign with the government is put out in the public. Nobody would want to come to invest in your country. And I said then, and I said now, I did not want to put out private commercial information. I never denied, I never accepted, I just said I am not doing it. But I knew your opposition would do it. Now that they've done it, maybe I can say a few things about it.
But but Mr. Hilaire, I think the record is very clear that you said you have never approved or allocated 5,000 nor 6,000 applications for Galaxy. The records are clear that you said that.
I will say again, you can go and read my presentation to the House, to Parliament. You can read my presentation to the Chamber of Commerce. I will repeat it again. I do not discuss, and I will have to get permission from them if they want us to release their private commercial information. If you can show me saying that we never granted this, please share it with me. I will remain consistent. As a government, we do not believe that private, confidential, commercial information should be released in the public, and certainly not without the permission of the investor. That is what I have said. I don't know if your colleagues can verify. I have said it repeatedly, and I will say it again. So, but let's discuss the contracts. I'm sure you have read them. I'm sure, because I heard you were quoting them on your show, whatnot. Have you read the 2018 contract that Alan Shastry signed with Galaxy? One thing you would have noticed, Lisa, in all the contracts we signed, we stated the number of applications or shares we were giving the investor. Have you asked Alan Shastry why he did not put the number of shares in the agreement that he signed? Why didn't he? But before I go into why he did not put it, and I want you to ask him, DSH, and you remember DSH bought thousands of acres of land for, $1 an acre. they asked for over 9,000 shares. Just sit down, reflect on it. Huh? DSH asked for over 9,000 shares. To this day, we cannot get documents relating to DSH except the agreements that were signed then. In those agreements, they agreed, just like in this, to give DSH CIP approval and the shares that they need. It did not have a number. But we know DSH had asked for over 9,000. We know DSH was put on the CIP website as an approved development. So if you sign an agreement saying you will get CIP approval, if we know you asked for over 9,000, and if we know that you were approved because you were put on the website of the CIP unit, it means you got shares. How many shares did DSH get? Maybe you might want to ask that. How many shares? How many shares were sold? Was an escrow account ever opened? We don't know. And we've never been told. But in this agreement, no shares are mentioned. All the agreements we sign, it states how many shares you have gotten. You've read the agreement. Read 5F, and I'm going to read it for you. Because this is really critical. Remember, they did not state how many shares they are giving Galaxy, huh? But let me read the clause to you. And like I said, you read the agreement. So you know what it has in it. But if you missed it, let me read it for you. The developer shall be entitled to increase the size of the hotel, subject to Development Control Authority and CIU, Institutional Investment Unit, approval. So they can increase the size of the hotel, blah, blah, blah. And in so doing, the number of rooms to such amount as a developer deems financially viable. So the developer can increase the development, they can increase the scope, they can add as many rooms as they deem financially viable. And if the developer does so, the number of qualifying investment units developer is permitted to sell shall be increased on a pro rata basis. So, former Prime Minister signed an agreement where he says to the developer, you can increase the number of shares whatever you want. All you have to do is say, I'm increasing the size of the hotel, I'm increasing the scope of the hotel, so there's no limit to what you can get. Now think about that. That's the same person who signed DSH, did not put the number of shares in it. But we know, because we have the documents DSH submitted, that they wanted 9,000. And we know they were approved. And in the case of Galaxy, they put in a clause that Galaxy can increase and get more shares as much as they want. Why didn't you put a limit in it? Why didn't you? But you want to accuse us of giving 5,000. The same person we suspect gave DSH 9,000 and signed an agreement with no limit in it. Well, you know what? Galaxy signed that. And then we had to say to Galaxy, you must put a limit. There must be a limit. It cannot be not ending. There must be a limit. But why would Arlen Chastanet, as minister, sign DSH, don't put a number, but approve DSH because it was put on the website? Why would he sign with Galaxy? Don't put a number and put a clause that they can increase as they see necessary. Have you thought about that, Lisa?
So let me ask you now, Minister.
But let me just finish. Huh?
Oh, okay, sure.
But then in ours, we actually put a limit. Now, in a discussion that will come later on, we will explain what Galaxy had put on the table and exactly why we felt it necessary to put a limit in the best interest of St. Lucia. Now, they were given a preliminary amount. So when we met them, they said we were given X, Y, and Z so we can get started, but nothing is built yet. Huh? We had to say to them, that's not how you do in the business. You can't decide, I want 1,000 now, I want 600 now, I want another 1,000 another time. That's not how you're doing it. Let's agree what is going to be the scope and what you're getting. Because they were given an initial, but it's not in the agreement. It's not there. But why is it not there? Maybe you should ask him that. Why is it not there?
So the initial that we were told was in the range of 700.
Is that there?
And once that was stated publicly, you did not contradict it.
Because, again, I will start off from the first point I made. We're not in the business of discussing private information in business. We said we did not want to do that. But they've now put all the contracts online. So we have to defend it. But we would not do that. We took a lot of blows. I took a lot of blows, including from you. But I maintain my position. As a government, as a Minister of Investment, I do not think that should be the practice of the country. You can go read my presentations. I said so. I said so to the Chamber. I said so to Parliament. I said so when I addressed the nation. I do not think as a country, any government, whether Labour or UWP, should conduct the business of the country in that way. Because when people want to invest in the country, you want them to have confidence. And I avoided discussing shares. I actually said so. I don't want to discuss it. But I know eventually they could not help themselves. They could not help themselves, so they would leak it. Trust me, we know. You think we don't know who had the copies and what is done? Even the resignation, you think we don't know how you got it? But the point is, we don't think we should run the business of the country in such a way. But they leaked it, so then I want you to ask him those questions, Sammy. How many shares did DSH sell? How many shares did you agree for DSH? How many shares? Why didn't you put a figure in this agreement?
So now that you've disclosed the DSH...
And also, how did you spend all the CIP monies, the tens of millions of dollars they had when they were in government? Because in the last sitting of Parliament, I presented how much we have earned and how we used it. Can he do the same?
Can you say that it was not in the consolidated fund?
That what? Was not? I don't know.
Well, you have the access. We don't.
But we don't know. How much money was paid to Range? Where did the money come from? We don't know.
So for Caribbean Galaxy, you gave Caribbean Galaxy the undertaking that you would reduce the minimum investment from the 300,000 to the 200,000. Can you explain to us why that was important for you?
Well, Galaxy did not even like when we were doing that. Just do the maths. If Galaxy, under UWP, was allowed to sell a share at 300,000, and we said to them, no, there must be a limit on the number of shares you have. And in addition to having a limit, we're reducing it, so they're making even less money.
Why was the reduction necessary?
Because I thought it was going to make St. Lucia more competitive. So you reduce it from 300,000 to 200,000. Galaxy did not like that.
But you also gave Galaxy exclusivity as the real estate investor.
For their project, yes, but it's their project. So they decide.
But for the real estate option?
No, that's not true.
The contract reads
that they're exclusive for
as
real estate in St. Lucia?
Yes.
Well, I'll double check the contract, but how could Galaxy be, Galaxy would be exclusive for their development?
Well, it's their development, Minister, of course.
No, but anybody can sell any development unless if the developer says, I want to sell my development.
Did you also make Galaxy a promoter by the construct of the contract, by paying
Galaxy
them commission?
Can I tell you something?
Or can you explain that?
You're opening a door I really want you to open. So you're walking right through it. That's why I tell you I brought water for you this morning. You know, listen to this.
I have some as well.
Let me tell
we can exchange.
When we set up the CIP, we made agents. Only St. Lucians could become an agent, because we felt we should give our professionals, accountants, real estate agents, lawyers in St. Lucia to earn out of the CIP. By the time we came back in 2021, international marketing firms were also made agents in St. Lucia. Promoters were made agents in St. Lucia because the law was changed by the last administration. So we did not change the law. Go and check the regulations. It was allowed by the last administration. Henley and Partners became a local agent. Atom Capital became a local agent. That law was changed where only St. Lucians were allowed to allow any and everybody to become a local agent. It wasn't us who did it. The
So
same
then
way
can you explain, though, for us, Minister, for those of us who are not au fait with how this works? We are paying a commission to Galaxy. Galaxy is the developer. And as the promoter, what are the responsibilities of the promoter? What exactly does the promoter do?
Again, let me go through it again. You're really walking in through that door nice and
We
smooth.
want an understanding.
So let me explain to you. So a developer is the one doing the development. There are promoters all over the world. Some developers are also promoters. Promoters are the people who bring the applicants to St. Lucia. So some developers tell you, I also want to be a promoter. I want to bring investors to my project. Because remember, the developer is the one financing and doing the development. Some of the developers say that they also want to be promoters. They want to go out there and sell their development as well and to bring applications for their development. Right? You understand that one? When a promoter gets an application, they have to give it to an agent in St. Lucia. Follow me? The way we had it structured, agents had to be St. Lucia alone. The last government changed it, where you could be developer, promoter, and agent. The last government. Because they allow marketing agents, developers, to also be able to register as agents in St. Lucia. So it means you, Lisa, can come and do a big hotel development and say, I'm also going to go around the world to sell shares in my development. So I want to be a promoter. The changes the last government made also said, you, Lisa, can say, I also want to be the agent in St. Lucia who submits the application to the unit. They did that. Ask them why. Ask them why did they do that? That's not an interesting question.
Do we have...
And let me just finish though.
Yes.
And they were the ones who started giving commissions. When we left in 2016, nobody got commissions. Ask them, why did they start to give commissions? As the unit itself. The unit effectively started to have donations costing 80,000, not 100,000. So when they accuse people of underselling and discounting, our unit under the last government was bringing to the kitty 80,000 for a donation. And again, you don't want to bring out all those things in the public and whatnot. You still want to ride the waves and move forward. But ask them, why did they do that?
Why did you not change it, Minister? Because it sounds as if you believe that this is so unfair.
Sometimes the train has left the station. Sometimes the train has left the station. The whole landscape has changed. The whole landscape has changed. People now doing business with you expect commissions. Expect commissions, or else they will not do business with you. You can't just decide I'm not giving commission anywhere. Your industry will die. Because people is now part of doing business. But it's the same way they changed from 500,000, 500 a year, the cap, the same way they changed a minimum wealth status of 3 million. But that train has left the station. We can't bring it back. We can't put the train in reverse. But ask them to explain those things to you. And the same critic you have towards this, have towards them. I know you're capable and competent enough to do it.
Well, I ask the questions irrespective of who's before me. That is certain.
I admire that.
So I will ask the questions.
Yeah, ask for sure about this contract that was signed in 2018.
I will, Minister. I will ask. But you say that this, basically, your hands were tied. Am I understanding that what you're saying?
Come on, that's not good. You know exactly what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
So there's no way that you could have gone and reversed anything.
The industry has changed. There is now a cost of doing business and the expectations of the market. And therefore, there are some things you just cannot change. You cannot change it anymore if you want the business to continue. There are things we change. We made the due diligence more rigorous. So for example, we introduced that every applicant now, before we give them citizenship, we must interview them. Mm-hmm. That was not there before. We've also added financial intelligence.
But that's also a requirement for the 6 principles from the
No,
US.
we propose it. We said we were going to do it. We propose it. We were part of the discussion. We said we were going to do it. As well as the FIU review. Those things were not there before. And there are more things we propose that they've not accepted yet, you know. And I can even share with you, we are making more proposals to make it even more robust. Because for us, we should have a cap on commissions. Because the high commissions is driving the demand for more shares. So if we can get a cap on commissions, which we believe in St. Lucia should exist, but we have not gotten our way on that one yet. We also believe there should be an annual cap, like we had in 2016. Maybe not 500, maybe a little higher than that. But we believe in those things. But not everybody agrees with us. But we will continue to lobby for it. Because we believe the industry should be well regulated and robust to be able to enhance its reputation.
Under the infrastructure, the agreement does state that they need to do the financing of the $100 million. Galaxy would undertake that and then be reimbursed. Have we seen any of that 100 million? And can you explain to us what is happening with the infrastructure option?
No, we have not started it yet. Since July 1st, when the changes, the new MOA came in, we have been reviewing. And again, Lisa, if you don't have one, I'll give you a copy of my presentation to Parliament, where all those things are explained. You will get a comprehensive explanation of where we are with it and its status.
So the public, just give the public a little better understanding.
No. I presented it in Parliament.
Yes, sir.
The rightful place to present those things for the public is Parliament.
Absolutely. Just for some elucidation.
You're going to wrap up
What?
now?
Yes, I will. I apologize for.
No need to.
Yes, I apologize for that. But in terms of the projects, how many projects will be undertaken under this infrastructure option for Galaxy?
We will get the full list once the program starts.
And
I give you all of them.
Okay.
But you can understand why the opposition is so scared of the infrastructure option.
Well,
because of that question you just asked.
Okay, very well. And can you explain, if you can, the role of the infrastructure ministry in all of this?
Yeah, they have a fundamental role to play. Every project will come from them, will be verified by them, will be supervised by them, and certified by them.
And so what would be the role of Galaxy? Simply
financing and oversight to make sure that the pricing between them and the ministry are both acceptable, and they will do the financing and general oversight. But it will be driven by the Ministry of Infrastructure.
So Galaxy would have absolutely no say over the projects that are selected, nor the works that are undertaken?
The projects is the government of St. Lucia projects. Galaxy have no say in the projects.
Okay.
They finance here.
Can you
If you
just
have any road in your community, your area, that you want repaired, you might want to speak to your parliamentary rep about repairing it.
Thank you. I really love how you are looking out for me this morning. I appreciate it so much, Minister. Thank you so much. My final question to you then would be on BMAX.
Yeah.
Can you $25.5 million for the housing project? But it would seem as if what BMAX will be yielding would be far in excess of this investment amount. Can you explain to us?
Now, why did I think you were going to ask me that? So let me give you the answer I had ready for you.
Sure.
I'm waiting for you. So here it is. First of all, the costings are done by QSs, whatnot. You ask, why would somebody make, a high ROI, return on investment? Well, there are a number of reasons why somebody would make a high return on investment, one of which is the risk of the investment. So there you have an investor who is putting all the money up front, and it's been recouped or reimbursed through the sale of investment shares. If they are not sold, they lose their money. If it takes 5 years to sell it, they have to wait 5 years to recoup their money. If the program shuts down, they lose their money. So it's high risk. And therefore, in the exchange for high risk, they can negotiate for a high ROI, return on their investment. But at a different level, in our country, when somebody comes to build a hotel, for example, let's take a hotel, say Sandals, Royalton, they are building a hotel, and they ask government for concessions and incentives. Government calculates, Well, we need the hotel. It brings how many more rooms? It brings how many more jobs? And therefore, we will give all those concessions. Those concessions are worth tens, and in some cases, hundreds of millions of dollars. We don't tell them how much profit they must make on their hotel, what their room rate should be. They do their business model, and they make a request to government. Government assesses the strategic importance of what they're doing and agrees what are the concessions and incentives that they are given. So hoteliers, after they get all their concessions, VAT-free, this income duty exemption, corporation tax, exemption, and they make their profit. We don't limit the profits anybody can make when they come to invest in this country. Nobody. It's a negotiation between an investor and government. And the same applies to the CIP. It is high risk. They are providing the monies up front. They may never make back the money. They have to go out there and get the investment shares sold, which leads to citizenship, to get back their money. So it's a negotiation. The way the last government dealt with it is don't say how many shares we're giving. They never announced how many shares they were giving DSH, and in this agreement, they never announced how many shares they are giving. But think about it, Lisa. Why would you as a government not put in a contract? Anyway, DSH or Galaxy, how many shares you're giving them? Why would you not do it? It baffles me. I'm a person who sleeps very well, but I woke up kind of early trying to figure out why would they not put it in? Maybe you can find out for me. Well, I see you smiling. Look like you are going to go and find out for me.
Well, I'm also smiling because the press secretary literally is taking the mic off my hand. Yes, so, well, let me thank you, Minister, before I'm railroaded out of here. Thank you very much. We shall speak again.
I still have the water.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So on Friday, the Independence Anniversary Planning Committee began preparations for St. Lucia's 46th Independence Anniversary celebrations. The committee is co-chaired by the Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Augusta de Gazon, and Ms. Donnaline Vite, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Information and Broadcasting, Culture and Creative Industries. And this committee was appointed by the Cabinet of Ministers to lead the planning process for independence celebrations. Although no decisions have been finalized, the meeting marked the start of preparations. Updates will be shared as progress continues. And that's it. Thank you. Well, based on the meeting, we're brainstorming a theme right now. So as we make decisions, we will update the press. All right? Well, Emma Hippolyte, Minister for Commerce, Manufacturing, Business Development, Cooperatives and Consumer Affairs will now address us.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I'm going to address, good morning, everyone. Good morning. A few things, just to remind all of St. Lucia that we are still in...
Just 1 second. Your background.
Oh. Now I have my dash in there. I'm not sure how you're going to take it. I brought the dash in to PMA, but PMA there.
We'll gladly take it on.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. First, I would like to remind all of St. Lucia that we are still in Business Month. November is Business Month. We have had several activities. This coming week, we have on Wednesday a business mixer in the south of the island. And I really would like, especially our small businesses, to turn up at the brewery to have a conversation so that we can meet each other, have a conversation as to how things are working and how we can continue supporting the small business community. And that is on Thursday. So that is the Ministry of Commerce. Now, with my constituency of Soufrière-Fauché-Jacques, I want to report that on Wednesday, we met with our Dash-in farmers again with Export St. Lucia to discuss the progress that we are making in terms of getting viable markets for our Dash-in farmers. You may recall that last year, November, with the use of our CDP funds, I supported some 52 farmers in Fort Jacques. So today I am pleased to report, I'm giving you the real evidence that the Dash-ins are now real. Okay, so we're not speaking abstract anymore. We are shipping to Canada, we have markets in Antigua, Export St. Lucia is getting us other markets, and now what we're trying to do is to get our farmers to understand the rigors of the export market versus the local market. So I want to thank you for the support that you, as members of the press, have actually provided to us during that journey. Also, we have had some progress with our fishers, and with our fishers we had a challenge in the Anshasni Bay for a little while in terms of conflict with various stakeholders. Cabinet appointed a committee to deal with that conflict, and about just over a week ago, they installed a swim line in the Anshasni, in the Anshasni Bay. Some of the fishers and water taxi people were not happy with the swim line, so I was on the bay with them last Saturday, and we have agreed to have a meeting this Wednesday at 4 o'clock at the Soufrière Fisheries to meet all the stakeholders so that we can move forward amicably. So these are some of the issues that impacting us at the constituency level. Any questions for me?
I actually, the amount and the consistency, I need to know that. How many pounds or tons was exported, and will it be consistent? Because we have a problem if always producing our first set will go out, but can it be consistent if it's every month or whatever? The consistency
of the
product.
I know, it's a very good question. I know, for example, at our meeting last week, Wednesday, the issue of record keeping, which was an issue that we had agreed on at the very beginning last year, November, needed improvement. And both the extension officer from the Ministry of Agriculture and one or two of the members of the committee and also the Fort Jacques Farmers Group, we have agreed the assignments to be done with the farmers, to encourage the farmers to provide, even though you don't say who you sell your product to, but at least tell us how many bags of Dash-in that you sold. And I think sometimes they are cagey about providing that information, especially in terms of the cost of how much you sold it for, whether it's $300 a bag or $350 or $250. What we are interested in is how many bags, what is the weight, and I really want to use that movement to encourage all farmers to share that information. As I told them at the meeting, if we do not have the information to know how successful this venture is, then we'll have difficulty monitoring, improving. As you know, in addition to giving the 52 farmers the 1.5, the Ministry of Agriculture, the government of St. Lucia, through the Ministry of Agriculture, also assisted them with technical support as well as with fertilizer. So it is in the interest of everybody that we have the data going forward. But you are correct on that.
My follow-up question, we had that same project and it was sent to Dominica because of the same thing that you just spoke about, where the farmers, due diligence wasn't given, and where the farmers were selling it before. And when they did have to send that same Dash-in to England, there was no Dash-in to send to England. What do we do to prevent such from reoccurring again?
So what I must tell you, we provided the farmers with the assistance for the dashing, but it was not a condition that they must export all of it. No, that is not the condition. The condition is they will provide a local market as well as export. So all we want is to monitor. The main issue, the main objective was to increase production. We know we have increased production. Now, what we've done with it, that is what we want to know. How many acres more? Based on the 52 farmers, when we gave them the support, we expected them to increase by 52 acres. What have you produced? What type of dasheen, whether it's our local dasheen versus what you call the Taiwanese dasheen, what you produce in. Even at the meeting, they're talking about the shelf life of the two varieties and things like that. I think that's the type of information that is critical for us going forward. The long and short of what is critical for us is that Export St. Lucia reported at least that we have a market for almost the next 6 months. So again, it's to encourage the farmers to continue production and to meet the standards. Because at the meeting, they agreed to have another meeting with the farmers to talk about post-harvesting standards, how you handle the fruit, how you package it, and things like that. So again, I want to thank the Minister for Agriculture, the team at the Ministry of Agriculture, the team at Export St. Lucia for working with us as we have established this viable industry for our farmers.
Yes, Madam Minister. As we're on the issue of local produce, we know we've spoken about cocoa. We have the CMOS. But one area, I think, I wouldn't say it's neglected, but it's in our face every day, the coconut. Coconut, we see these guys selling coconut all over the place. Firstly, would there be any, I don't know if I should call it an association or a group or a unit to at least, have these guys reflect that quality production. They sell by the road, they sell on the sidewalk, they sell everywhere. And
especially the jelly coconut?
Yeah, the jelly coconut. In terms of packaging it, branding it. And then could you just an update on the Soufrière coconut factory? I know, soap is still in production, oil is still in production. But is this something that has disintegrated, or is there any plans to, revitalize or rebuild that factory, that industry?
Good question in terms of the coconut industry in general. I do not have all the information. What I can tell you is, based on the various meetings that I've attended and dealing with the various cooperatives, I know that the production of coconut, the bulk of it goes into the jelly coconut. So I believe there is maybe insufficient attention to getting the nut at a stage where you produce copra and then oil. The soufrière, so as it relates to the jelly coconuts, I know we've had significant conversation in terms of the hygiene, how the persons, whether you should wash it before. I know Minister Richard Frederick had some concerns about for Central Castries. He's taken some action. The whole issue is, again, always bringing to the attention of the coconut vendors that you are producing, that you are providing a service to the consumer, that the coconut must be washed, get it washed before, and that you always have it elevated, the infrastructure, the equipment, whatever you're using, your cutlass, everything the focus must be on hygiene. And we continue to say so. As well, even in terms of whether the person is offering a straw to drink, how do you get the flesh out of the shell? These areas that we have to pay a lot more attention to. So that conversation is continuous. You asked the second question as to what is happening to the Soufrière factory. The Soufrière factory, as it stands, there is an operator there, Mr. Prévost, who used to produce oil. What I have seen, he's not producing oil anymore. There is a producer, gentleman producing soap. Mr. Prévost is doing more what I say as packaging material, the disposable food and bottles and things like that. That there is very little production or no production of oil itself, based on what I've seen. What is happening to the factory, the general thing, as a government, what we are looking at, we are looking at the efficient and effective usage of the entire copra facility. Yeah. Not only just of the factory itself, all the land around it. So this is now being under revision, and when we have what you call a prototype, we will discuss it with the people of Soufrière first. Yeah.
And in terms of the farmers, they're not concentrated. If the Dashing farmers, they're not just for Soufrière, they spread out.
Well, I have been dealing with my constituency, both in Foshe-Jacques, Myers Bridge, Belle Plaine, as the areas where we can produce the most Dashing, especially Foshe-Jacques, and up to the day before. Yeah, Sunday, I had a conversation with one of the farmers at Belle Plaine, where you have a large expanse of land with the favorable conditions for expansion of Dashing. So that conversation is taking place.
Madam Minister, in relation to the Dashing, the Agriculture Minister mentioned millet also. He said it's between Foshe-Jacques and millet, and you just said yes, your constituency.
I am focusing on my constituency. I cannot speak on what is happening at millet. So the rep for millet would be speaking on millet or
the same Dashing products.
Yeah, the same production, because Export St. Lucia, when we export, we don't export just from Soufrière, Foshe-Jacques, we export for St. Lucia. Anything else? I want to speak a bit in terms of our St. Lucian honey. We know last year we got the first prize internationally, Soufrière again. And this time we had St. Lucia got first, second, and third prize. The first prize, I think, was from a grouping in Beaufort, and second and third prize came from the Soufrière region. I'm saying all of that to say that, again, we have a product that is recognized internationally. So within the Ministry of Commerce and Export St. Lucia, we are taking the steps immediately to see how best we can up production and improve our marketing so that our farmers, again, can get the support that is required so that our honey, which is a good quality honey, the world is telling us it is good, so we need to up our marketing and ensure that our farmers benefit from it.
So what would you say as one of the challenges? Because I know there was a time when, I used to go around with them one time, but I know there was been a shortage of hives or sometimes the seasonal climate change. What has been the biggest hurdle in terms of, bigging up the production?
Well, there are different challenges, but as you know as well, you have the issue of deforestation, you have the issue of some people using a lot of pesticides and things like that. All of this impact honey production. But we, as a government, again with the help of the Ministry of Agriculture, would identify areas where we can improve production. And we have to give them the support that is required to do so. That's what we will do.
I know it's still how you say, crucial times in terms of it. But one factor that the consumers take account of a lot is the price. It would be $70 this month. A couple more months is $75. The price is.
You mean the honey?
The honey, it fluctuates. Is there any control mechanism, or can they just sell it how they want?
I can't put honey under price control. It's market supply. So if we expand the production, then there's a chance that the prices will be stabilized a bit. If you have more in the market, you can export more, you can consume more. It is a health product, and that's an important issue for us.
Yes. Yeah, thanks.
Just one question, as you mentioned, the price control minister, with respect
See,
to the price control.
You Lisa stayed quiet. You have price.
Oh, no. I didn't. previously, you know, yes, I wanted to be able to give my colleagues because I seem to have dominated the previous session.
Okay.
But
okay,
just
sorry.
as the final question, the Department of Consumer
Commerce.
Affairs did issue a statement alerting consumers that they may notice an increase in controlled goods, controlled products. And that would have been due, they said, to shipping costs and so forth, but that you are monitoring. Can you give us an update as to whether the department has indeed registered any increases and where or what items are those increases registered?
No, I cannot give you any specific products now. What we are seeing, because you may recall just after COVID, the price, the shipping costs went up, skyrocketed. Then afterwards, it started coming down. And what we saw again, it started going back up. So that was what we alerted the consumers about, that we are seeing the shipping costs. When the price control items come to us for costing, so we can verify the costing, we were seeing some movement going upward again for shipping for different reasons. The war continues to have its problems. There was this issue in terms of the Panama Canal. A lot of issues are impacting shipping. And as long as the shipping cost goes up, things are going to go up. But what we wanted to alert consumers on as well, so that they have a better appreciation of what is impacting the prices. The items are price control. That doesn't mean that the price is going to be stagnant. If we have an increase in the shipping cost, then that price control item will go up a bit because of the shipping cost being a factor in the costing. I think that was the things. But we also wanted to give consumers in general the comfort of telling them that staff at the Ministry of Commerce and Consumer Affairs are more aggressive. I told them I want them to be there 24/7 on the ground to ensure that there's no price gouging. And I think maybe that's where the statement came in, that day in, day out, we will be monitoring, and we want to signal to the business community that the Ministry of Commerce, we are working with them on one end, but we are also working with the consumers on the other. We will be monitoring the prices continually to ensure that we have fair pricing.
Just one other point on that. With respect to the National Consumer Association, I know that you had pledged to give as much support as possible. Can you talk to us about what the relationship is between your ministry and the association and how you have been able to give some tangible support to the association?
Thank you, Lisa. The relationship between the NCA and the Ministry of Commerce and our Consumer Affairs Department is very good. We are working together. We meet every quarter, and I meet every quarter with all the major sectors. I meet with consumers, the NCA. I meet with Chamber of Commerce. I meet with SLISBA. I meet with Manufacturers Association every quarter, so that we try as much as possible to address issues before they escalate. So the relationship is good, and we supported them by increasing the subvention, whatever it was, from last budget.
Minister.
The ministry is Commerce, representing business, Consumer Affairs, representing John Public. So we need to make sure that this works well.
One question, Minister. Has there been any reduction in the subsidy on flour?
A reduction in the subsidy? Mm-hmm. No.
Especially to bakers?
No, there's not a reduction. No, not of late. We had a subsidy for a little while, and we have not reduced that. Every St. Lucian, as they continue to eat their bread every morning, the government of St. Lucia has paid for half of that bread for them. We pay for half of the bread already. Before they light the match with the tank, we pay for part of that already, 1/3.
What other products is currently being subsidized?
Well, the main thing for us for Commerce is the flour that has a main subsidy on, And sometimes based on the price, based on where we get the sugar, there's also a subsidy on the sugar.
Okay, is rice and
The rice, we almost like a little break even. You don't make any profit on these things. I mean, you just ensure that it is available.
okay.
But you have a heavy subsidy on flour, heavy subsidy on cooking gas, especially the 22-pound cylinder and the 20-pound cylinder, and a lower subsidy on sugar. If we don't subsidize that, a lot of other things, the price of a lot of other things would have been higher, especially sugar. I can tell you, even when we had challenges in getting sugar from Guyana, sometimes have to go to other sources. And even when we opened the market and gave the manufacturers the opportunity to purchase the sugar directly, they don't do it. They come back to us because ours is subsidized. And as a result, that impacts, that contains the price on a lot of the manufactured goods that you see, where they use sugar. So the government of St. Lucia continue to put the people of St. Lucia first. Second, third, fourth, the people of St. Lucia is always the main focus.
Okay. Any other
Just a final question for me pertaining to the Bakers Association. Thank you. For the implementation of the minimum living wage.
Yeah.
There was some concern from the association that perhaps its members would not be able to meet that, and they were requesting some dialogue to decide on how best members would be able to navigate the increase for salaries. Can you update us on whether you've had those discussions with the association?
That's a good question, Lisa. I know, yes, you're correct. Very early, the bakers were worried that all the members might not be able to meet the minimum wage. I know the conversation came in. They made some proposals to government. I know our PS and the team of finance as well had to meet with them to see how best we could assist them. But as you know, when you look at bakeries around the island, you have large, medium, small. And always the area of concern, which is a genuine one, is especially the very small bakers. How we assist them so that they can navigate that minimum wage so that we don't break the law. And it's not only bakers, very small businesses. We are now trying to do a survey to see how it impacts them so that we can make decisions. We can only make the decisions when we have information. That is critical for us.
What are the options open and available to you?
Well, I do not want to say that now. If I have the data, when I have the data, then we can analyze it, and then we can sit with the Ministry of Finance and the Honorable Prime Minister and say, how are we going to deal with this sector that are affected?
A cart before the horse situation, Minister?
No,
because we were told that there was extensive consultation.
There was,
and that there were actual surveys done and studies done, and we missed this loop?
No, Lisa, all of that was done. All I'm saying is you might have some of the smaller businesses that might not feel empowered to come in to say, look, I am only making, for example, you might have a small shop somewhere who's only making $2,000 or $3,000 sales for the year, for the month, sorry. And that person, that business, depending if they have to pay, if they're running it on their own, that's not a problem. It's when they have to pay an employee the minimum wage of 1,311, then that would pose a challenge for that individual. So, and as a government that always put people first, we are going to do the research there. If there's any of these small firms, we have presented to the cabinet as an issue that we need to see. If these people are there, what the issues are, and how we can maybe advise them what it is, what support.
So for the survivability of the businesses, you have a time frame on which you want this completed?
Oh, yes. It has started. It has started. I do not want to say I want to do it in a week. I want to end it in December. I have wanted to finish it already. But it's an issue. I mean, we have to face our realities. We have implemented a minimum wage, and thousands of persons have benefited. It is a good policy. Now, if there's anybody that is impacted negatively by it, we have to look at it and see what it is.
Thank you very much, Minister.
You're most welcome.